Hello, so in this video I'm going to show you how to get started with Reaper. The only thing we're going to get to is where to find Reaper, downloading it, and just giving you an overview of what it is and what it can do. And we're not actually going to get into any sound editing until the next module. So anyway, the first thing you want to do is you want to go to reaper.fm and download Reaper. So Reaper is technically not a free software. The license, there are a couple of different types of licenses, but they're very affordable. A discounted license, which is for small businesses, is only $60, which is really nothing for such a great piece of software. However, you can once you download Reaper, it essentially works as a trial version, as a evaluation version, and what happens is it never really stops working. It'll just keep reminding you that you've been using Reaper and that you are still using the evaluation version. Now you'll see when I open my Reaper that I still am using the evaluation version, but I think it's absolutely worth the $60 to have a great digital audio workstation to work with. I think by now you should know what a digital audio workstation is because you've reviewed the slides. Basically, it's a program that allows you to work with audio and MIDI and do editing and all sorts of things like that. So anyway, this is where you will download Reaper. You just go here and choose the version you need. I'm just going to assume that this is something you can deal with. This is not really a problem. It has really, as far as I've seen, it never really has any problems downloading, unlike other programs that can be kind of fussy with respect to what sorts of specs you need to have them work on your computer. Reaper is a very light program. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start Reaper. And all we're going to do is we're going to make sure that everything is sounding right. So, okay, so once you open it, you'll have a blank workspace, and there's some buttons here that are just pretty straightforward. Actually, if you hover your mouse over them, they'll tell you what they do. Many of the commands are very basic things like undo, and we'll go over all of these in detail a little later. But the first thing we want to do before we even get started with that is go to Options, go to Preferences, and make sure you check your audio device. Now, if you're using a Mac computer, this should say something like Default System Devices. You could also specify a different device for input and a different device for output, in which case you'd have to do, let's say you want the microphone as an input, and you can say here, use a different device for output. So I could use, let's say, my sound card, my audio interface to go in, and then maybe the computer speakers to go out for whatever reason. Now I have it set to Motu Ultralight. This is not what you're going to see. That's because I have an audio interface plugged in to my computer, and so that's what I'm using to connect my microphone and my headphones. But you'll most likely be dealing with the default system. I'm not 100% sure on Windows what that would look like, but typically it'll be whatever's at the very top. And if you have trouble, do let me know, and hopefully I can help you out. So that needs to be set. So a lot of times the problem, if you can't hear any sound, is because you just have the wrong setup here. So that's one thing. Then the next thing we're going to do is just see how we open sound files. Now, here's an important thing to remember about digital audio workstations. When you load a sound file into a workstation, what you're actually doing when you're editing the sound is you're pointing to different portions of the sound. In other words, you're not necessarily changing anything about the sound file. You're just creating a new, basically your project is doing different things, such as you might say, okay, go from the beginning of this file up to second number 3, and then from then on pause, and then don't play that bit. So it's essentially pointing to different things. So when you turn in assignments made with Reaper, you don't want to turn in the Reaper file, because that's your project file, because that's actually going to be empty. It's just going to show different pointers, but it's not actually going to have any sound. In order for you to hear sound, you have to render the file. But we'll get into all that later. But the reason I'm mentioning this is when you what's going to happen, let's say you save your Reaper project into the desktop. Anytime you add sound files, those sound files will also go within the same folder. So it's always a good idea to keep everything nice and clean in one folder with your project name. So a project folder will contain multiple files, not just a Reaper file. Okay, so let's go ahead and insert a media file. So we're going to open a sound file. There's two basic ways to do this. One way would be to go to media file and just look around, see where you have any sound files. Let's see, sound samples. I'll do. Let's do this one. Okay, so I open this. And then what Reaper is automatically going to do is it's going to create a new track. Now you can also create an empty track just by going to insert new track. And what that means is that this is just one layer of sound. Now you could have audio tracks, and then later on we'll see you could have MIDI tracks as well. But for now we're just going to work with audio. And so each time you add a track, you have a different layer, and those things are going to play on top of each other. So that's what you would call multi-tracking. So right now we don't need that additional track. We'll just delete it. Okay, so you can name the track. It'll give it a name based on the name of the sound file, but you can actually double click in here and name it whatever you want. Let's say sound 1. And so the other thing you just want to do to make sure everything is working, this is the transport window. This is where all your playback controls are. There's nothing special about this. You'll see this cursor moving around. That's just going to obviously be where your sound file is starting to play. If I go back to the beginning and just press play, I'll hear a sound. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this one. Make sure you can play back a file. Actually, one more thing. I did say there were two ways to open a sound file. There's another very good way, which is to use the Media Explorer. This comes in really handy if you're going to try different sounds and you want to first hear them before you actually import them. So here I have all these different sounds, and if I can go through each, and it'll play as soon as I click on it. And actually I click different parts of it, and I can have that one or this one. And then when you find the one you like, you can just drag it into the project, and then it'll create a new track. Okay, so that's it for this one.